Hey guys, my name is Abhijit. I lead products and engineering for Automation Anywhere. I'm here to talk about our overall product vision. So overall, we are finding that RPA and AI play a very tight-knit role together, where RPA helps AI by bringing in data and context and training, and AI helps RPA to glean signal from the noise. So let's start out with what our broader vision is. So our broader vision is to be able to deliver the power of the digital workforce platform to the millions of people that are out there. And these are the three criteria that stand out. One is that to make a difference, this digital platform has to work for any size company. Whether you are a small company just starting out and you have 5 people, but you really want to get to the next level of scale using digital workers, how can you do that, right? Or if you're a large company that is globally, that has global presence, and you want standardization in terms of processes and all globally, then how can you use RPA to do that? How can you use RPA to automate thousands of processes so that fundamentally in this world where people are demanding that each of their experiences be personal with you, even though you are dealing with millions of you're serving millions out there, how do you move fast enough, right? So it has to work for smaller companies as well as larger companies. The next is that how can this digital workforce platform be adopted by anyone in the company, no matter what your role? And what that means is whether you are business or IT, or you are the people who are actually developing bots, and that means you may be functional users all the way to advanced developers that want to use the best of breed in terms of Python and Java and whatnot, and mix them in with your bots. You should be able to readily ramp up with respect to the product, as well as be able to use it quickly, as well as be able to scale with it, right? So that is the anyone. The last portion is the anywhere portion, where is this platform delivered to you in the manner that is best for you to consume? Whether you want to consume it in a public cloud, in your own private cloud, or on-premise. So those are kind of the three principles for us that we're looking at as we lay out the product vision. Just to address a little bit on who are the different stakeholders that are involved in successfully deploying the digital workforce, we see these 3 categories. The first is business, obviously, and RPA has a lot of roots on the business side. The business users wanted to move quickly, and they wanted a system that will scale with their requirements, that is easy to start with. So business actually cares about ease of use. They care about what ROI the system is providing to them. So they first and foremost care about ease of use. They also care about maximum automation of the process itself. And as you know, any business process consists of a mix of execution-oriented steps and decision-making steps. Now, in these decision-making steps is where you need judgment and ability, where you can actually infuse AI that can substitute for that human judgment by learning from past transactions, making sense out of it, establishing the context, and hence automating that decision-making step. Business users also care about the core RPA because they have to deal with thousands of systems in practice, and they might not know how to call an API or how to write a script against that will automate a certain system. The next is IT. And IT cares about how this system that you're putting in place is scalable and secure, right? So they care about things like, can I actually go to 1,000 bots, We have customers who now have 3,000 bots that are talking to 3,000 plus application systems. We now also have customers who already have 15,000 bots, and they're asking us questions about how can I get to 200,000 bots. So in that kind of an environment, IT cares about, can I manage by exceptions? Can I actually have bots that, if I can figure out which bots are about to fail, can I take proactive actions against them and prevent those failures, right? Can I actually have centralized security policies so no bot goes rogue? We get asked this question about what if a bot goes rogue? Well, it's actually the human who has created the bot. You have to ensure that that human has the right set of privileges. So security is a big aspect of it. So fine-grained, role-based access controls and things like that. IT also cares about whether the system is, has the right APIs so that they can really make RPA an integrated part of their enterprise landscape. Right? So can I actually control the server itself to be able to manage these bots from anywhere that I want to, right? Now, we have a mobile app for that, but if you want to orchestrate different events to control the bots, you can do that, right? And finally, whichever model they want to implement in, right? Does the platform support that? Last but not the least are the actual developers themselves. Now, these are the guys who are building the bots day in and day out. We see a wide variety of skill sets out there. These may be functional business users who simply want to have drag and drop commands that they can use to build a very simple bot. It's for this reason that we actually have a record button in our product, that you can press the record button, you can do what you're doing, or you're showing the bot what you're doing, and the bot actually generates the script or the code in the background. You don't have to worry about that. And that is the single most important feature for business users, because they can say, hey, I just actually pulled data out of Excel, and I transferred that data onto my SAP system. Then I actually did a query in that system, and then I maybe filled a web form from there. Without knowing anything about the underlying technology, I was just able to create my first bot, and it did exactly what I wanted it to do. Right? So these are the functional business users. Then you can move on to even people in IT who are actually building blocks so that business users can build more powerful bots. And these could be, can I actually build a connector to a Google Maps system? Right? Because there might be a requirement to pull data out of a legacy system and actually draw your entire supply chain in front of you, so that the human, rather than spending time in transactional doing just processing transactions, that human can actually spend time in analyzing that supply chain, making the right supply chain decisions and so on, right? So it's all about moving humans up the value chain. So they care about things like that, where IT can build a simple Google map. So we have today a Google Map bot that you can just drag and drop, and you can send it any address from any system, and it'll actually draw the map for you, right? The advantage again is that by building this building block, you are making you are helping others build more powerful bots, right? And then all the way to the most advanced programmers. Now, these are guys who want to build, who want to incorporate best-of-breed technologies, and they want to do things like, create their own custom AI classifiers and all in Python or Java, and just be able to embed that code directly into the bot. So they say, I can actually build a mortgage processing bot that can, take 30 different variables, and I can actually create a Python program, and I can just embed that entire thing into a bot. So now a business user can actually use that and say, I'll send data from a spreadsheet, and I'll use this AI in prediction mode to be able to, to build a bot that can actually approve or reject loans, right? So our platform addresses all three of these stakeholders. Go ahead.
So going back to your previous slide, and combined with this one, you've got an approach where you're trying to be all things to all people. Mm-hmm. It's a rapidly growing space. You're a rapidly growing company. How do you manage being all things to all people without diluting the impact that you could have if you were specialized and focused on, say, a developer community?
Right.
So how do you manage that part of the strategy?
Yeah. So our strategy is that what we are thinking is, you have a journey with respect to the system. And how do you make that journey the easiest? So you can, this is why we have in-product learning, where as a business user, you can actually build your very first bot in a very visual manner. Just drag and drop commands, having a Visio-like diagram in front of you that will show you the process logic and things like that, right? But at the same time, you can actually, as you progress with respect to your skills, you can discover more and more features that you can then use. So there are things like advanced variables and data tables and so on that you can now use to say, hey, if I write my first program, or if I am a programmer who wants to transfer data between my program from this bot, what are the features that I can use? So our strategy is to be able to address that beginning part of the journey really well, and then have features advanced enough that the programmers are actually able to do a whole lot. I think why we had to go with this is we figured out eventually that RPA has to address that problem of scale. And what we found out was, in the enterprise world, the applications in the landscape are of various shapes and sizes, where there are applications that don't have APIs at all, that a business user or even a programmer might want to just look at the front end and just automate via the front end. Whereas you could have APIs that you then need to be able to talk to the program. So we ended up supporting all of these modes of integration, as well as all of these levels of programming, if you will.
So if you're talking, business line user to developer, or SMB to global enterprise, it sounds like your strategy is to start everybody at the same baseline, and depending on the maturity of the org, you can get deeper and deeper?
Yeah, I think the power of RPA is exactly that, is that a couple of business users could get started by automating a certain process, and then you can take it to much higher levels. So you could start with just a handful of bots, and they can be very simple. And you could then expand to 50 to 100 bots, where you now need compliance and governance and those sort of things. Along this journey, we also discovered that IT can help quite a bit by building those appropriate building blocks that actually business users can start leveraging. And so in our workshops and all, we work with them to be able to say, these are the most common applications that you guys seem to use. Or in your first automation journey, these are the main applications that you'll use. It'll help if IT builds some of these building blocks. All right.
I have a question. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was wondering, what kind of business transformation do you need up front to have a project like this?
Yeah, so the beauty of RPA is we recommend that you start automating what you already have, so that you then give humans the bandwidth to be able to decide whether that process is optimal or does that process need to be changed. I think in a lot of the traditional transformations, what happens is people spend a lot of time in terms of optimizing the process, and then they spend time designing the process and all. Ours is a mix where we say that you can actually get the automation out of the way, so that you provide your human teams the bandwidth so that they can actually think about what the process will be next. So start with automating your as-is process, and then then you get some time for the to-be process, and you can always evolve the bot.
But I guess you also need to, an internal communications, and you need to break down silos to get this working.
So for change management, we have a whole methodology on how you can establish a RPA COE, where you have this center where you can get the right resources together so that they can start helping your teams. Mm-hmm. And we also have a way that the first project, the COE can even kind of handhold the business unit. And from the second, third, and fourth project onwards, they can take an increasing kind of step back and let the business unit teams take over and do more of their stuff. But change management is needed as well. One of the big silos that needs to be broken down is, IT and business need to come together. to be able to say, hey, this is the help that we need from IT, and IT will then ask, how can we actually help you automate even more? We have a term called bot velocity that we use for that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. So our intelligent digital workforce platform consists of a number of products. Like I said early on, we actually figured out that we needed to have a complete product portfolio where you are bringing in enterprise RPA capabilities, which is all about scale. This is about how do you manage thousands of bots, how do you manage VI exceptions, and so on. Combine that with AI that will actually, using repeated transactions, basically get AI to learn. And these are bots that will actually learn from humans and become smarter over a period of time. So we have that component in our IQ Bot line of products. And we have Bot Insight, that is our own BI platform that actually sits on top of all of this and helps, aggregates the data across humans and bots to give you all kinds of patterns and trends and so on. So in terms of enterprise RPA, there are special bot workbenches where you can create the bots, and what we have bot runners where you can actually run those. So you can create a bot on a certain machine, and you can actually run them across thousands of machines and so on. In terms of Bot Insight, we have operational insights, which is all about how to keep your RPA deployment humming smoothly with thousands of these bots running. So this is about which bots are most likely to fail, which are your MVP bots, how is your schedule looking in the next week, month, or year, what can you do in terms of optimizing hardware, and those kind of things. Then there are business insights where you can tag any event in a bot as a business event, and then the bot can actually log anything and everything about that business event. Because we believe that the content actually that is processed by the bots is far more critical. It is putting the power of this data from millions of transactions in your hands that you could learn a lot about how your business is trending, and that's where this digital workforce can actually help you identify business growth opportunities. So RPA is not just about cost or cycle time savings. It's actually very much about identifying how your business can grow.
So
we also have a bot store, because early on we actually recognized that for the platform to be sticky, there needs to be a good amount of bots that have been created by others. So today we have over 500 bots there, and what's even more important is 60% of them have been created by partners. Now this is where developers could add a lot of value. We actually are shortly releasing our Command SDK. What that means is developers for the first time can actually contribute to adding core automation commands. So you could take one specific, let's say, connection to a system, or even a specific AI component, and you can actually create a core command on our system that others can actually use, and you can sell that actually via our bot store.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
This sounds really cool, but it all comes at a cost, and whether that cost is financial or load on your system. When we start creating these bots and we start putting them on existing infrastructure, what does that cost as far as processor load, CPU load, storage, memory? I mean, what does that cost look like, especially if we're giving everybody the opportunity to just sort of run and go create their own bot? Because most times people will create their own bot, realize it's not exactly what they wanted, and instead of cleaning up after themselves, they just kind of go, okay, I'm going to shut it down. I'm going to go to lunch, right, and they forget about it. I mean, what type of cost impact from a performance of a overall network or system will this have?
Yeah. So a couple of things regarding that. So the cost and the processor load, just like everything else, it actually depends on what you're trying to automate. If you're trying to automate a smaller transaction, then that cost will be much less, right? In terms of speed, what we've found is that the bots are very fast as compared to humans, right? So that time certainly shrinks. But if you're trying to automate a complex process with 10 systems involved in all, you will need a machine that's larger, right? So it actually depends. And in terms of the hardware investment, the bot can actually run on the user's desktop, or it can run in a virtual machine or a VDI somewhere else, right? So so we have people have actually designed kind of the right sort of hardware for the right sort of bots. The cost for AI might be a little bit large because there you need to train the AI and so on. And for that, we actually recommend GPU-based servers and all. Again, that depends on what transaction, what is the volume you're training at and so on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. I just wanted to end on this slide here. When we had to look at how we built the brain of a digital worker, we had to look at a number of things. Again, this is a mix of like how do you go about defining what a digital worker does, and how do you scale that to the next level, right? So we use AI to do a number of things. One is actually process unstructured data. Now, this unstructured data may be in the form of scanned documents. It can be anything like invoices and contracts and so on. So we use a mix of unsupervised and supervised machine learning for bots there. It can also be applying language skills. So when an email actually comes in, figuring out the intent of that email, and then executing the right bot according to that. So a customer sends an email. If that customer is inquiring about an order, then you need to run your order management bot that can actually query that order and return the right information, right? If that customer, if an employee is saying, hey, I'm going to take the next 2 days off, then that bot could actually say, when was this email sent? The next 2 days means these 2 days. Go to the leave management system and be able to mark those days off for that employee, right? So you could have a varying number of use cases like these. This also includes conversational skills where you have chatbots. So humans are interacting with complex systems in a very simplified manner, right? Where in plain English you are asking a question. When will my order be shipped? And then behind the scenes there's an RPA bot that is running that is fetching data from a system and all, and then responding back to you, right? As well as it could include voice skills. So things like translating speech to text and then acting, then figuring out the intent of that text and then acting on that, right? So that is all about unstructured data. We also use AI for core automation. We understand hundreds of different application development frameworks that are out there, but even using computer vision and treating the screen as a giant image, we are still able to figure out all the application controls and all just like a human would. And we are using a lot of deep learning features and all for that. So that is called AI Sense in our product. Besides that, we have actually partnered with a number of AI vendors. What we are finding is actually RPA has become a great channel for AI. And what that means is, AI vendors might not be able to provide the right context and all to be able to sell AI to business users, but RPA actually brings that context. So we have several use cases where we are using, for example, computer vision to identify features from photos, right? But that is coming in the context of a business problem that somebody is trying to solve. So towards that end, we have partnered with companies like DataRobot and so on, where these are AI authoring platforms that actually help you author AI models, and then you can embed those AI models in our bots and use them in a prediction mode as such. The idea here is that you can actually start automating domain intelligence. So the mortgage processing bot example that I gave you was one example of that, and that's the last one, which is the predicting the process outcomes and all. So we have a very comprehensive AI framework that actually supports the full AI model lifecycle from building, training, deploying, and ongoing learning. So we have several examples of that I'll free to, I can provide more details if needed. All right, so any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Just generally speaking, on the one leg of your triangle for who automation is for is just users, right?
Right.
I can imagine there would be a lot of friction from some users that automation is going to cause them to lose their job. How do you manage that messaging and that adoption by users so that they don't fear automation but learn to embrace it just so they can become faster and more agile in their own job?
Right. Yeah, so we have actually done a number of things, but actually what we are finding is the trend from customers has not been that really. Initially we get some of those reactions, but as time passes by, actually the people, when we walk into, as we talk to people, right? They first start with the statement that, I know that my job cannot be automated. There's a lot of subjective things that I do, right? But then as we talk to them more and more, they actually figure out that 80% of what they do is something that is business rules based, right? And they find out that that's actually what is holding them back from getting the time to think strategically. So we've now been in situations where if something happens and the bot stops working because, let's say, an underlying application has been upgraded or there are other changes, then we actually find that the people, they'll actually stay till midnight to be able to fix the bot and to make sure that they don't have to do this stuff again. So we are getting this reaction that, hey, it's great that a bot is automating all my repetitive and mundane stuff that I do, and I now have a status of a bot supervisor, so I can actually do my strategic stuff and manage only as needed. So that's a trend that we are seeing.
Thank you.
Great.